Many professionals prepare carefully for promotion. They study, they build networks, they acquire new skills. But very few professionals prepare with the same seriousness for the moment when their career chapter comes to an end. Yet, retirement is one of the most significant transitions in adult life. And when that transition arrives unprepared, it can be deeply unsettling. Welcome to Second Act Naija. This platform is dedicated to a conversation that many accomplished professionals eventually face, but few discuss openly. What happens after the title? Across Nigeria and beyond, many men spend decades building careers, leading institutions, and shaping organizations. Yet, when the season of transition approaches, very few pause to examine identity, structure, and purpose beyond office. Second Act Naija exists to explore that transition thoughtfully. Because retirement should not arrive as a surprise. It should unfold according to design. In recent conversations, we have examined several important realities. We have asked the difficult question, who are you without your title? We have reflected on why retirement preparation must begin long before the final day. And we have considered how retirement can expose gaps if life beyond office has not been designed intentionally. Today, I want us to move the conversation forward. Instead of focusing only on the challenges, let us examine the architecture of a successful second act. Through observation and reflection, I have come to see that meaningful post-retirement lives tend to rest on 5 pillars. Let us consider these pillars one by one today. Pillar number 1, identity beyond title. The first pillar of a successful second act is identity that is not dependent on position. During our working years, titles often shape how we see ourselves. We say, I'm a director, I'm a managing director, I'm a general. But titles are temporary structures, and when retirement arrives, those titles disappear. What remains is the individual. That is you. Successful retirees often possess what we might call portable identity, movable identity. Instead of defining themselves by position, they define themselves by contribution. They say things like, I mentor younger leaders, I advise organizations, I help solve institutional problems. Identity becomes purpose-driven rather than title-driven. Let me ask you a simple question. If your title disappeared tomorrow, how would you introduce yourself? The answer to that question reveals the strength of this first pillar. Pillar number 2, structural discipline. The second pillar is structure. For 30 or 40 years, many professionals live inside highly organized environments. Meetings shape the day, decisions create urgency, deadlines create rhythm, but when retirement arrives, that structure disappears. At first, the freedom feels welcome, but after some time, the absence of structure can become disorienting. Successful second acts retain structure, not institutional structure, but self-designed structure. For example, scheduled time for mentoring, dedicated time for reading and learning, advisory engagements, health and physical fitness, family and relationships. Structure protects purpose. Without structure, time begins to drift. Pillar number 3, economic stability. The third pillar is economic stability. This does not necessarily mean extraordinary wealth, but it does require clarity. Clarity about income sources, clarity about lifestyle expectations, clarity about financial responsibilities. Many professionals postpone financial planning until retirement approaches. That delay can create unnecessary pressure. Economic stability provides something important. It provides freedom of contribution. When financial anxiety is reduced, individuals can focus on meaningful engagement rather than survival. Pillar number 4, relational depth. The fourth pillar involves relationships. Many professionals underestimate how much their social world is tied to their workplace. In office, interaction is constant. Meetings, collaborations, conversations. But after retirement, many of those interactions disappear. Successful second acts are supported by deep relationships. These may include trusted friends, professional peers, mentoring relationships, community networks, faith communities. Human beings are relational. A meaningful second act is rarely lived in isolation. Pillar number 5, purposeful contribution. The fifth pillar may be the most important. Successful retirees continue to contribute. Contribution can take many forms. 1, you can mentor younger professionals. 2, you can advise organizations. 3, you can serve on the boards of corporations, trusteeships, etc. 4, you can write, you can teach. 5, you can support community initiatives. And there are plenty of opportunities for this in Nigeria where we live. The second half of life often provides a unique opportunity. It offers freedom from institutional constraints. This freedom allows experienced leaders to contribute wisely and generously. In fact, most people discover that their most meaningful impact occurs after retirement. But contribution must be intentional. Let us have a moment of reflection. Let me ask you a question as reflection. Among these 5 pillars, identity, structure, economic stability, relationships, and contributions, which pillar is strongest in your life today? And which pillar requires the most attention as of today? Let us summarize our discussion of today. So a successful second act rests on 5 foundations, like we have established. Number 1 is identity beyond title. Number 2 is structural discipline. Number 3 is economic stability. Number 4 is relational depth. Number 5, purposeful contribution. When these pillars are built intentionally, retirement becomes not a loss of relevance, but a transition into a new phase of influence. As we close today, remember that the second act of life does not begin automatically. It must be designed thoughtfully. Titles eventually pass to others. Positions eventually change, but wisdom and experience can continue to grow. The goal of retirement should not simply be rest. It should be renewed relevance. And when the second act is designed intentionally, it can become one of the most fulfilling seasons of life. Reinvent, rebuild, rise. Thank you.